Claude Levi-Strauss, born in the year 1908, and he was a French social anthropologist. And he had the idea to reduce what was there in total as information about society to its essential parts. And then he used the lens of structuralism. So I tried to look at it from the lens of structuralism. And the idea is to look for underlying small patterns in the life of people of a society, and then try to find out what unconscious influence they have then on the beliefs, ideas of an individual or of a whole society. As example has been given in the book, the idea, for example, to look when people are eating, with whom, how much they're eating, at what time, how often a day, what they are eating, these things, and then try to look for of these essential things which are in structuralism, an underlying pattern, how that has now an influence on the whole ideas, beliefs, and on an individual or the whole society. And how these, when structuralism goes a bit on, to look how when these small underlying things are interrelating and so on, how it all works. And that was when Claude Levi-Strauss' approach. And he has been said that can then help to become a part of society, understanding these smaller, finer, more filigrane underlying patterns and structures of a society. That is according to the Reader's Digest Library of Modern Knowledge, book 2, part 8, Man and Society, written by Sia Q, Jocelyn Emily Court, Peter Loyce, Lucy Mayer, David Martin, Jacqueline Sarsberg, Ruth de Witters, and J.C. Woodburn, on the page 451, and another one, all written in the year 1978. The positions and views expressed are the ones of a source and don't necessarily align with my own, or with the ones of the entities it's found. Welcome. I am trying to learn anthropology today. Claude Levi-Strauss, and after we've done it, we're going to do leg injury prevention training. And if you participate in the leg injury prevention training, then it's very honest. And the book is written in the year 1978. Claude Levi-Strauss, born in the year 1908, a French social anthropologist, best known for his attempts to reduce the information available about social systems to what he considers to be its essential elements. And the book says that he is recognized, that he is famous for, that one of his working methods is to reduce all the information about a social system available down to the by him regarded as essential elements. Basing his views on the theory of structuralism, he argues that the unconscious structure of a human mind produces similar patterns among cultures everywhere. Okay, but some patterns of the way which people live, I saw just with the side of it, it's talking about eating and something a bit, eating, sleeping, I think it's like, so the things a bit, that the general structure of a brain which all human beings have causes them to have similar patterns in their life, no matter in what social system they are living. Let's take a look at structuralism. Study of the underlying patterns of social life as represented in social behavior and in the belief and ideas held by members of a society. Okay, to study the underlying patterns of a social life, so the more underlying patterns, whatever they know in detail are, as represented in social behavior, so how the underlying patterns in human lives, let's just say with work and leisure, or work with the children, or leisure or sleep, how that has an influence on how these underlying patterns are represented when in the social behavior and in the beliefs and ideas held by members of society. Okay, how the underlying patterns of living, of human organisms, have an influence on how they behave in social groups together and on their beliefs and ideas. The studies of anthropology and sociology often use a structuralist approach, whatever that means. The interrelations between the underlying patterns of social life are seen as making up an unconscious structure of society. Okay, and how all these underlying relations are each other influencing. That gives them a structure of society which is not so obvious. So society can be structured by the rhythm of how human beings are more or less, because of their organism, of their physical body, to eat. How these underlying structures, that is an example, they don't name an example, so I don't know. That would be an example, I think, how that has an influence on how their belief system, idea system, their social behavior, and how they live together, and influence on that. If human beings would not eat, or just once a month, or just live from the sunlight like plants, or would only drink, who knows how social life would look if people would never eat with other people, and so on. So I think that is what we mean. And how a life would be look if people wouldn't necessarily need sleep. Would they even have houses? Would people live in families together if they would not sleep? That is an interesting thought, I think. Right now I have it. So would they live together in families? Would they have houses if they would not be unconscious for multiple hours a day? The interrelations between the underlying patterns of social life are seen as making up an unconscious structure of society, which can be studied by examining the ways in which societies organize themselves and their beliefs. The leading exponent of structuralism is a French social anthropologist, Claude Levi Strauss. So I think what I just said, we need no examples, but I think we understood pretty well what we said. And if not, I think we understood something else. But I think we understood what they wanted us to understand. Levi Strauss. And he reduced the information based down to the most essential ones. Basing his views on the theory of structuralism, he argues that the unconscious structure of the human mind produces similar patterns among cultures everywhere. So structuralism, as I explained it just, would also include other biological factors, but he says also structures in the human brain would cause people in different places, even though they never have contact to each other, form similar forms of living. Maybe they all would form a religion even though they never have contact, because of structures in the brain which cause people to have that. A sociologist who uses Levi-Strauss's approach might, for example, structurally analyze eating patterns in terms of the times of day meals are taken. Who uses Levi-Strauss's approach might, for example, structurally analyze eating patterns in terms of the times of day meals are taken, the number of people at the table, the length of time a meal takes, the choice of food, how much is eaten, and in what sequence. By such processes, breaking down the activities of a society into its basic components, it would then be possible for anyone wishing to become a part of that community to learn those activities. Now, it could be that what we said last has nothing to do with structuralism or Claude Louis Strauss' work. But that is not the main idea. It could be that it's completely a side comment by the authors of the book. That in understanding these underlying structures could help to become part of a society. So we try to mention it as in our presentation. The book gives then a little side note that understanding these underlying patterns of a society, when what is eaten with how many people, for example, or other more on structuralism based, and now thinking about it a bit further, other structuralist things we can't really do it, but it makes a lot more sense. What might help for people to understand a community, to become part of it. It's a bit complex to explain now in our presentation what we just said, because it's more or less evolved, not a clear presentation, because most of the things are not directly said as they are here. And if I say just what is written here in the book, it's not really clear to understand. Claude Strauss, 1908, French social anthropologist. Reducing information available of a social system to the essential elements. And he works on also with structuralism. So the idea that underlying things in the brain or in the biology of human beings, study of the underlying patterns of social life is represented in social behavior and in the beliefs and ideas held by members of society. The interrelations between the underlying patterns of social life are seen as making up an unconscious structure of society. And the patterns of life, when what people are eating, to what times they are sleeping, maybe also. They never mentioned anything of what I here mentioned. The whole thing based on biology is evolved, what I explained is evolved from what we're saying here with the unconscious structure of the human mind produces similar patterns. But I understand that he has argued neurologically, so that the brain has a difference. So if he's talking about the brain differences having been a difference on the world, why not include the whole biological body? But we never do that. He argues that the unconscious structure of the human mind, they don't say that is in the biology of the neurology and the build-up of the brain. The unconscious structure of a human mind, it could be completely not manifested through the brain in its physical form itself. And here as well, they never said anything of what I just said. How about we coming back in the next part, reading it again, and when we are able to separate a bit more of what I said and of what we are saying. We're not forgetting what I just said, because maybe it's also an interesting idea. If you were here for anthropology, you can go directly to the next part of anthropology, and you can read that again, having in mind that it is not based on the biological influence on what the biology of a human being has an influence on its living in a society, but just on unconscious underlying structures of a society on the society. If you were here for that, you can go directly to the next part. If you stay here and participate in the leg injury prevention training, then it's better honest. Have a good standing leg, and the other leg is swung in front and to the side. And the other foot in front and to the side. The goalkeeper preparing for the goal kick exercise. And now, the busy but nonchalant goalkeeper. With your other front and back. And one leg up, to the side, breathe in, middle and down, the pie and pilcra exercise, to the side, breathe in, middle, down, and the direction warrior, knee up, legs out, over to one side, change, and the confused direction warrior, across also with the leg, change. Middle and down. Other leg up and over cross. Middle, cross. Middle and down. And have a good standing leg and one leg up and press up and to the side. Other foot up, press up to the side. The boat lock exercise. Have a good standing leg, the other leg to the side, and lift it off the ground and again onto the ground. Try to move not with the hip, the flamingo. Other foot to the side and up. One hand on tummy, one on lower back, and lift the leg in a straight line up. Try to bring the leg higher and pull the toes in. And the leg up. Control with the hands that you don't fall back. Try to bring the leg higher and pull the toes in. And the wildcat. Have a good standing leg. Turn over to the leg. Down into the knee. Over to the other side. Up. Change the leg. Stay good. Turn over. Down. Over to the other side. And up. And the clock. Have a good standing leg and reach always with the heel of the other foot to imaginary 90-minute intervals on the dial of an imaginary clock. Other foot. 12 o'clock, 1:30 and 3, 10:30 and 9 o'clock, 7:30 and 6 o'clock, 4:30 and 3 o'clock. And the pin pad, don't do it if you're pregnant. Lift the heel off the ground, place it again onto the ground. Whole movement out of the hips. One. And the stem, leg up and foot up and down. And the seesaw airplane, one leg up, arms to the sides, and lean in front, foot up and down. And again, and pull the knee in and out. Back into the middle, and the same with the other leg. Leg up, down, again, and the hiding airplane, knee in and out. And the horse, leg in and out. Now if you like the camel, the whole body moves. And if you can and like, the whole leg swings. The upper part of the body goes down. Try to be tall in the standing leg. And with the other leg. First the horse, leg in and out. Then the camel. And then if you can and like, our leg swings. And the last one. Legs to the side, spreading it down. And out. In and up. Good. Reef in and close the legs. And out. That was the body center now. The leg injury prevention training. I thank you very much and next time.